Hi guys, and welcome to the daily podcast, the daily live. I just wanted to talk today about something that's going on in the economy. And, in small business, we often just go on and get on with things. We turn up in the morning and we do the work, but it is important to see what's happening on a macro level. I am going to share here a screen which is going to allow me to show you an article that has caught my attention. It is about the ASX closing very flat. So the ASX is the Australian stock exchange, and it's been pretty flat lately. In fact, this article is saying here that it's had its worst week in 11 months. Now, some of you might be wondering, what does that have to do with small business? I'm going to explain that to you because this is a telling sign of what may be coming. We've seen in crashes and in recessions in the past, what happens with big business does filter down to small business. What happens globally does filter down to Australia. So looking at that macro environment and seeing what's affecting it is actually going to help us know what might affect our small business today, tomorrow, for the next 12 months. So here we go. The Australian share market closed flat at the end of Friday trading session. It was a record low. It was the worst week since September of last year. So not good signs there on the economic front. And what's the reason for this? So where is some of this coming from? You can see some of the headlines there, the economic bloodbath and the highest loss in 11 months. So a lot of it has to do with the Aussie dollar. Now, when the Aussie dollar falls, it significantly impacts how businesses can compete. You'll see that Australian businesses have to compete based on a global range of products. Most of our products in this country are imported. So what happens when the Aussie dollar falls is the price of imported goods goes up, which means that people are buying less for the same amount of money. Oil is a great example. The cost of oil goes up because the value of the dollar goes down. As we've seen recently, when we had a more stable dollar, the cost of oil rising was actually doing a lot in terms of inflation and hurting our economy in a negative way. Why does oil affect everything? Because we use it to move goods around. And if you use oil to move goods around, to move people around, so planes, buses, trucks, cars, we rely on oil significantly in our economy. And what that means is if that's more expensive, then things get more expensive. If the truck that's coming from the ports in Botany to the Woolworths depot and then on to the Woolworths stores, if they're paying so much more for their fuel along the way, how's that cost going to be recovered? Woolworths not going to dip into their profits to pay for fuel. That's coming back to the consumer. So now the consumer goes to the checkout, they spend more money. What are they going to do? They go to their employer and say, I need more money. The employer has a limit, but he says, okay, let's pay a little bit more. Minimum wages go up. That's fantastic sometimes, but it's not enough. So then the household says, well, we're going to have to tighten the belt here. Couples sit down, whether they're single people, they sit down, whether it's, larger family discussions, and they say, we need to tighten the belt. We need to control a lot of what we're spending. We're pulling the kids out of swimming lessons, or we're not throwing the birthday party this year, or the extravagant birthday party, which impacts business even further. The swim school's now struggling. The birthday party place is now struggling. That tap needed replacing. Let's not do it. Let's do it when we can afford it. So the construction industry and renovations are down. So oil can have a massive impact along the line, and so can the value of the dollar. Some of the big box stores, some of the bigger retailers actually take action sometimes that is counterintuitive and actually makes the economy even worse. So what they will do is the dollar will go down, things will get more expensive, which means sales will go down. And in order to recoup some of those losses of sales, they will actually put the price of other items up. They will test the consumer and say, well, hold on, yeah, you're going to go without that, but you really need this. We're going to make you buy this. And that drives the economy even further down. So the Aussie dollar can have a big impact on small business. And in fact, it has done for a very long time. Look, the Australian dollar, usually grows in value when investors are optimistic, commodity prices are high, the share market is strong. But the opposite's true as well. Currency generally falls when the market, the sentiment is that there's a negative turn about to happen. There's something, consumer confidence is down. There's a general feel in the economy that things are not going as well as they had hoped. So it dropped 0.9% on Thursday of last week. And it is a very, very significant fall here that we're seeing. The Australian dollar hasn't been this low for quite a while. So this puts another challenge on inflation, right? It's something that we don't think about with the Reserve Bank, obviously raising interest rates. But you can see here from this graph that it's at historical lows. Now, it's not the lowest it's ever been, but it is certainly trending there. Some people believe that the right place for the dollar to sit is in the 70s. It's generally well held amongst economists that if we're too high, there's something wrong, probably in the US or other global tensions going on. If we're above 78 cents, somewhere around that figure, there may be something else going on globally. But if we're below 70, there's another issue and probably something happening locally, or at least the viewpoint of the investors about the Australian economy is not as positive as it might have otherwise been. It's significant here when you see, the kind of 10-year high, right? So at 64 cents, we're not far off this bottom here that happened in 2020. And if we look at a 50-year graph, you can see once again, we're starting to trend to the lower levels of where we've historically been, which is a difficult thing to digest when you consider the housing crisis, the economic crisis that's going on. People are really not happy about it. And I think the most difficult thing for us to realize when we're going through the fall in the dollar is small businesses have so many pressures at the moment. So you've got wages, rent, cost of goods. Some people just don't want to work in small business, right? They want to work from home. So cultural. We've got online. We've got imported goods coming in with no GST. We've got increased competition. We've got councils shutting down small businesses. We're going to do another video showing you how some local councils have been acting like the Gestapo towards small businesses, which is disappointing to see. We've got family businesses where the younger generation doesn't want to take over. We've got social media where the reviews are damaging small businesses in some cases, and people using them nefariously. It's not a legitimate review. It's blackmail and people being unfair with the reviews that they're leaving. And finally, the 10th one is we've got, an aging population of business owners. So the average age of business owners has gone up in Australia because what we're finding is that of the 2.8 million small businesses in this country, many of them, the next generation does not want to take over, and they're now approaching their 60s, early 60s, late 50s, mid 60s, and they no longer want to be in business. They had hoped to be sitting on an island somewhere, or at least in sunny Queensland for those of us down south. And that hasn't happened for some of them. And they are looking around saying, well, hold on, if I can't sell it and no one wants to inherit this business, I might just have to shut it down. And that's bad for all sorts of reasons. It's bad for real estate. It means that there's less tenants in the market. It's bad for competition. Every store that shuts down, every small business that shuts down actually allows another small business that's still around, or bigger businesses, to charge higher prices. So that drives inflation in itself. And it's bad, I think, for our country. Small business is a legitimate powerhouse in this country, and we should be using it to really drive home the idea that, the capitalist dream is alive, the Aussie dream is alive. I'm kind of sick of hearing about all these startups and venture capital and the hustle and all these different type of really what are corporate speak for trying to overtake the lane of what is entrepreneurship and business ownership. And their model is still very corporate. I like the small business owner. I like the medium business owner because there's a lot of their own effort on the line. The product is normally of a better quality, a higher quality, because of their ownership of that result. And you look at the values in society today, it's a really needed thing for us to be driving people into small business. You should be proud of your small business, and you should be proud of your sign, of your business card, of your website, of your t-shirt with the logo on it. It really is a win for you. You have created something. You don't just go in and collect a check every day. So, my hat's off to you. I think you're great, but we do need to change the culture of small business in this country where people actually respect that. They're not looking for a cool business to have, but rather something that's effective, profitable, and rewarding, both to the business owner, to the customers, and to the employees that frequent that business. So, guys, just a short one here on the dollar, what it means, why I'm very worried about it. The dollar should worry you. We have inflation, we have interest rates, and the media doesn't really talk about this. The media talks about inflation. The media talks about interest rates. They scare us once a month with the Reserve Bank. And then, we've got a Prime Minister who wants to talk more about a public holiday than the economy. Anthony Albanese, wake up. Small businesses are struggling. Small businesses need your help. And I always find it funny that there's a small business minister, but I very rarely meet a small business owner. And I meet hundreds, if not thousands of small business owners. And very few of them tell me that they have met the small business minister, that the Office of Small Business has contacted them, has surveyed them, has interviewed them, has given them any assistance, has reached out to them, has invited them to an event. So stop pretending to be for small business. Stop hanging out with your mates from the big end of town with big businesses and come and get with the people, get with small business, because they're the ones that are driving the economy. They're the ones that are the fabric of this society, and they're the ones that do good every day when they go to work. And you're not rewarding them enough. Society's not rewarding them enough. And I'm telling you, they are hurting and they need support. So I'm here to support small business owners. I hope that we do get some political allies. I'd love to get some elected officials on the show to actually discuss small business and talk about what is a very, very important topic for all of us, I believe. And we should be really encouraging children to get into small business. I think it teaches you so much. So, guys, thank you for listening in today, and we will talk again soon. Thank you.